A lawyer representing former National Security Advisor John Bolton indicates that Bolton has some juicy stuff that he can share with impeachment investigators. However, they want a judge to rule on whether John Bolton can actually testify. Now, this is a weird thing to say because, as we know, there have been a number of Trump administration officials who have complied with congressional subpoenas. They have testified, they have given their depositions. Earlier, Bolton was supposed to give a deposition, but he didn't show up. And the argument was, well, we're getting word from the White House that we should ignore the subpoenas, we should not comply. On the other hand, we're getting these congressional subpoenas, we don't know what to do. Now, I don't really buy that argument, but nonetheless, the letter that was put out by Charles Cooper, who is Bolton's attorney, is fascinating because, again, it indicates that Bolton was in on various meetings, was personally involved in many of the events, meetings, and conversations about which you have already received testimony, as well as many relevant meetings and conversations that have not yet been discussed in the testimonies thus far.
Drums. Okay, so that's some significant drama right there. Well, so this is a really weird and interesting game of chicken because Bolton clearly wants to testify and he wants to first absolve himself. So you say, and that's why his people that have been in the meetings with Bolton have already testified that he said, I don't want any part to do with Mulvaney and Giuliani's drug deal. That's how he's referring to this quid pro quo with Ukraine. He also called Giuliani a hand grenade, okay, and said he didn't want any part of him. So now here he has, first of all, before this latest statement coming out saying, look, I believe in executive power, and so if the White House is saying don't testify, I'm a good conservative soldier, so I'm not going to testify. But golly gee, if Congress is making me do it, I guess I'll have to go to the courts and decide, they'll have to decide whether I should or shouldn't. And I think that he was rooting for the Democrats to press on that and for the courts to say, yes, John, you got to go in and testify against Trump. There's nothing you could do, right?
Right.
So now the problem became when the Democrats said, then forget it, we don't want your testimony, because they don't want it being dragged out. I want to get back to that and what the Democrats should actually do. But basically, Democrats then go and say, okay, you're now obstructing justice. And it's not necessarily Bolton that they're after. They're saying this is another article of impeachment against Trump because he's stopping Bolton and the others from testifying when they have legal subpoenas to testify. This was one of the articles of impeachment against Richard Nixon. So I think the Democratic strategy is a little off, but defensible. So, but that presents a problem for Bolton because he actually did want to testify because he can't wait to throw Trump under the bus.
Right, but so why doesn't he just testify? I don't really understand where the issue is. Like, why is he remaining somewhat loyal to the Trump administration? Why can't he just comply with the congressional subpoenas the same way other Trump administration officials did?
So I have an answer for that. So, and that's where we get into the game of chicken. Part of the reason he's not doing it is theoretically ideological, right? Because he was part of the Bush administration where they said the Cheney rule of executive power. The executive can do anything they want. The president can launch wars, the president doesn't have to check with Congress, has all this executive authority. If he now turns around and goes, yeah, I'll respond to the congressional subpoena even though the president ordered me not to, well, that's an ideological problem for John Bolton.
Dude, who cares? Just do the right thing.
He's John Bolton.
I know. And believe me, I don't have all this faith in John Bolton. I know who John Bolton is, okay? I know that he is a questionable mustachioed man who who cares about your ideology right now, right? Like, again, everyone in Washington is fueled by their own, like all of their motivation is about their own reputation and their own political careers because he's thinking about his political career. That's what he's thinking about. That's what John Bolton's thinking about. He's not thinking about his principles. He's not thinking about like, oh, let me do the right thing based on my values. He's thinking about like, how is this gonna impact me in the future? You're an old dude, okay? Just do the right thing for once in your life, just once.
Before we get back to the substance, two fun things. I like how
I'm just so sick of these like self-interested jerk-offs.
Okay, and then there's that. Okay.
That's what happens when you can't curse. You come up with words like that.
Okay, yeah. So that is a real word. So I like when she was imitating John Bolton, she was like this. I don't think John Bolton's ever done that in his life. Okay, and when you said mustachioed, I thought you said pistachioed. And I was like,
Gross.
Anyway, so now back to the substance. So when the Democrats say, well, we don't want your testimony, then Bolton sends out his lawyer to do the story we're reporting on today, where the lawyer goes, but wait, no, you don't understand. He's not just backing up the old stories. He has new stories you haven't even heard of. Plus, all the other ones are reporting stories of meetings that happened that were ordered by the president, but the president wasn't in the room. Whereas Bolton was in the room with the president and got direct orders. So he desperately wants to testify. At first, I wasn't sure. I was thinking maybe this is his way of helping the Republicans and Donald Trump by delaying the testimony and delaying the impeachment hearings by dragging it out in courts. But now with this latest letter from his lawyer, no question he wants to testify.
Yeah.
So that means now the Democrats and John Bolton are in a game of chicken, right? And the Democrats are saying, oh, you want to throw Trump under a bus? Well, I guess you'll have to defy that executive order. And Bolton's like, I don't want to defy the executive order, but God damn it, I want to throw him under a bus.
Cenk, this is also what I don't understand. As a salty human being, right? It's very rare, in fact, nearly impossible to find yourself in a situation where you are feeling that salt, right? You have this saltiness toward one specific individual. It's very rare that a gift is handed to you where you get to retaliate. And at the same time, do something right in your retaliation.
Yeah.
What is wrong with him?
Well, he's never done anything right in his life, so he's totally conflicted.
I just don't get it. He doesn't deserve these gifts.
And you could tell from Trump, he said recently, I'm not concerned about anything. It seems that nobody has any firsthand knowledge. There's no firsthand knowledge. Now, notice that criminals talk about people not seeming to have firsthand knowledge. That's like a criminal saying, oh yeah, you don't have the evidence. In other words, the evidence exists, but you're saying, you don't have it yet because I did a perfect call. So Bolton apparently might have the direct evidence. Besides which, guys, all the other stuff is direct evidence. That's all nonsense. It's not hearsay. You don't have to have somebody saying, yes, I am going to rob a bank at 7 p.m. for it to be a bank robbery, okay? There's plenty of witnesses, et cetera. But this boils down to Bolton versus Trump, the battle of the bastards. And the question is Bolton gonna, are the Democrats, first of all, going to change their strategy and go, let's also pursue that? I actually would counsel in favor of that because I say all of the above, right? Pursue the subpoena through the courts for Bolton. Meanwhile, continue on impeachment, go nuts, right? You don't need Bolton, but maybe by the time you're rolling around to all of this being adjudicated in the House or in the Senate, then you'll have your court ruling and then Bolton can come in with a finishing blow. Right? So I would counsel them to do both. I don't think either one stops you. And it also doesn't stop you from pursuing the obstruction charge against Trump, because no matter which way the courts rule, Trump is trying to obstruct. That there's no question about that. The very act of Trump telling Bolton and the others not to testify is obstruction. So that doesn't hurt your case at all on the obstruction charge. So give them everything you got if you're the Democrats. Fortunately, as usual, they're not doing exactly that. But if I know Bolton, that dude loves war too much not to go to war here.
Yes, this is the right opportunity, Bolton. This is when you should go to war. And
his ego is too large to get fired and not to get payback.
What's larger, your ego or your mustache?
Okay.
People want to know.
And in the end, hear me now, quote me later. No matter what the circumstances, courts, not courts, Democrats say yes or no, it doesn't matter. Bolton will testify against Trump because it's eating him up. And he can't let it go. He's not a Democrat, he's a super hard right-wing Republican, and they love going to war, and they never let stuff go. So Bolton will come back and give one last blow to Trump.
Give into the salt.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.